Hey there storytellers, welcome back to my channel. Today's video on this rainy day, as you might be able to tell from the title down below, is going to be my dark academia books for autumn. I've got Sherlock Holmes Pushy in here to help me discuss my dark academic pursuit themed reads, and I will get into a little bit more about what dark academia is and sort of preface this video by saying that this is kind of a hybrid between a recommendations slash TBR video. I've read some of these, I haven't read a lot of these. I am pretty familiar with the plot of about all of them, so I felt pretty comfortable talking about them, just putting them out there into the universe as things you might consider to read this autumn season. So without any further ado, let's start discussing what dark academia is. Dark academia is, of course, an internet aesthetic, basically, wherein it celebrates sort of old-timey pursuits, but in a darker kind of vibe. Think along the lines of like Dead Poets Society, often set in autumn. There's, generally speaking, a lot of like letter writing, theater, candles, tea, romanticizing intellectual pursuits, but also examining the darker side of human nature often comes into play, especially in dark academia stories. So without any further ado, let's get into these recommendations because I have a lot here and it's gonna take a while. There is literally no order in which I'm doing this, so my first recommendation I've already talked about in my August wrap-up video, and that is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Like I said, this is a sort of witchy fantasy dark academia novel. It is one I absolutely enjoyed my reread of. I love this novel. It takes place in autumn. It takes place in Oxford University, as well as a few other locations, especially if you continue with the series. It is not super spooky, so if you're not somebody who wants the really dark aspects, I would recommend this one because it is just it describes fall and college life and being a professor, all among supernatural, witchy, fun things. I think it's a perfect, like, cohesion of autumn aesthetics. Next, I have The Starlessie by Erin Morgenstern. This follows our main character, Zachary, who discovers a mysterious book that sucks him in and entreats him to this world of secret societies, masquerade balls, an underground library, and characters that are a little bit shifty that change his life. This one I have not read yet, but I'm very excited to. I've heard good things about it. It very much ticks the dark academia box with the sort of underground secret library with secret societies. I feel like it goes without saying, but because I haven't read most of these, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about them because I don't have thoughts on them yet. I'm just going to give you a sort of quick synopsis and move on. That being said, this next one I have read, The Night Circus, also by Erin Morgenstern. It follows two sort of young magicians, Celia and Marco, and they're kind of on opposite warring sides of carnivals and magic, if that makes sense. They work for the same carnival, but they have different mentors, and their mentors are sort of playing a long-winded chess game with them as the pieces. But of course, there's forbidden romance involved, and magic, and secret circus fun, just pitting the wits against each other and seeing how it turns out, not really being mindful of any collateral damage that can happen, which of course some does. So I would highly recommend this one. I think I could probably safely recommend The Starlessie just because I really love Erin Morgenstern's writing. Next is one you cannot Google dark academia without getting this recommendation for, so I don't feel like I need to talk about it for too long. And that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It follows a group of misfit kids at a New England college where they get taken under the wing of this sort of eccentric professor, and they start exploring the boundaries of the human consciousness and human morality because they are just feeling like they don't fit in with the humdrum life of their peers. They feel like they sort of stand apart, and it gets into this elitist secret society, the bad ramifications of being involved in something like that when you're impressionable and questioning morality and pushing the boundaries. Next is one of my ones that sort of pushes the boundaries. It's a little bit more fantasy than dark academia, but I think it still fits, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This follows our main character Laszlo, who is a junior librarian, so he is very much somebody who likes intellectual pursuits. He seeks out knowledge, and in this case, he seeks out the knowledge of the mythical lost city of Weep, where it just kind of disappeared and people don't know what happens to it. And he basically pursues the knowledge of trying to find Weep and see if it's still there. And of course, as he gets further into this mystery, it takes darker turns and he gets sucked into this world that's bigger than himself and all that good stuff. I should also mention that this one has a sequel, so once you get started, you do have to be prepared to read another book. Next up, I have a classic recommendation. Again, I feel like it probably would come up a lot if you looked up dark academia novels, and that is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. This, of course, follows our main character, Henry Jekyll. I can never remember the order. He's basically pursuing the secrets of the soul. He's testing on himself to sort of just unlock the soul and all the facets of it and trying to learn these things about human nature. And unfortunately, he unlocks a darker side of himself that wreaks havoc. And the more he struggles with the darker side of himself, the more he loses the lighter side of himself. The next one is another classic. Again, something about a dark intellectual pursuit that corrupts our main character. And of course, if you haven't guessed it, you should have. It is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This, of course, follows our main character, Victor Frankenstein, who is he a doctor? He is a doctor. And he literally, I love the back here. It says, must pay the price for his scientific arrogance, his desire to play God, usurp the female role, and give birth to another living being, which of course involves a lot of really gross things, and it has some consequences he wasn't ready for, and it horrifies him, this being that he creates, and now has to try to live with the knowledge that he's created this sort of ungodly thing. Like, he's so hell-bent on doing it that he doesn't think about the ramifications of what the after effects would be if he succeeds. So of course he succeeds, and then he's horrified. So he tries to run away from this being that he creates, which only causes more problems for himself, of course. A fun little classic fact is that everyone refers to the monster as Frankenstein. The monster doesn't have a name. He's unnamed, which is part of his issue, is he's this living, conscious being who's unnamed and gets rejected by his creator. So it examines both sides of what if you're trying to play God and you create this thing that you're not ready to handle, and the flip side of being this thing that didn't ask to exist and now your creator's literally running from you. So this one very much examines the darker side of human nature as well. Next, we have one that kind of gives me Frankenstein meets Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde vibes, and that is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This one has a sequel called Vengeful, so again, be mindful going into it. You're gonna sign up for a sequel, or I guess you could read it and ignore the sequel if you wanted to. But anyway, this follows Victor and Eli. Victor Frankenstein. Just saying. They're college roommates, brilliant, arrogant, lonely boys who recognize the same sharpness and ambition in each other. And of course, they decide to research something very similar to Frankenstein. It's adrenaline near-death experiences and seemingly supernatural events reveal the perfect storm situation, basically, wherein people might be able to develop sort of supernatural, extraordinary abilities, and they pursue that further. And of course, it corrupts them because they're playing with forces they don't understand fully, but they're so ambitious and single-minded that it doesn't matter. Next, we have one I have read already. It has technically 3 sequels. 2 are direct sequels to this novel, and 1 is just set in the same universe, follows the same character. So it's a sequel, but not in the sense that you could read it as a standalone. I've talked about it before, and that is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This follows our main character, Stevie Bell. She is a young, aspiring detective, and she applies to Ellingham Academy. It's an elite and exclusive boarding school in Vermont, if I'm remembering correctly, just sort of up in the mountains. And she applies under sort of, I should explain that Ellingham kids are encouraged to pursue their passions, not just, you know, forced to pursue intellectual pursuits that they have no interest in. The theory is that kids will thrive if you just let them pursue what it is they want to pursue. So Stevie applies under the insinuation that she's going to solve this decades-old cold case involving the founder of Ellingham Academy and his missing child and murdered wife. And while Stevie gets to Ellingham, more craziness ensues. So this is very much a mystery novel, but because it is set at an exclusive boarding school, this very much falls into the dark academia realm as well as mystery. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend. It's not too creepy, although there were some moments where reading it at night had me, you know, a little bit tense, but I think that's just because I really wanted to know what was going to happen next, and it's a murder mystery, basically. Somebody's gonna get hurt and you never really know when, so that always keeps me on the edge of my seat. It's super fun. I highly recommend. Next, we have The Library of the Dead by T.L. Huchu. This follows our main character, Ropa. She has dropped out of school to become a ghost talker, and she helps Edinburgh's ghosts sort of cross over, resolve their unresolved business, all that good stuff. But she gets sucked into this underground occult library world of the dead and ghosts, and I assume a secret society of some sense, hidden magic, all that stuff. This is one, again, that seems more like it's going to walk the line between ghost story and dark academia vibes, but it's set in Edinburgh at an occult library. It seemed too perfectly dark academia in setting to not include on the list. Next, I have another one that toes the line between ghost story and dark academia, and that is The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. This is primarily a ghost story. It's about a boy, again, who can see ghosts until the vengeful ghost, I should say, of a school shooter who died by suicide starts stalking him, and it seems like it's going to end badly for Jake. But it is set, I believe, at a private school. That private school setting, the sort of ghostly private school vibes, it gave me some dark academia vibes. I can't speak to it too surely, but I think it does toe the line enough that I felt like I could include it. All right, I know you were waiting for it. Here it is. The Complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Basically, any of Sherlock Holmes' mysteries toe the line between dark academia and mystery perfectly. They give you the vibes. I don't feel like I need to describe it. Jumping Off of Sherlock is a retelling, a study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallero. It is a gender-bent sort of reimagining, retelling. Basically, it follows Charlotte Holmes, who is Sherlock's great-great-great-granddaughter who inherited his genius and his temper, and Watson's descendant, Jamie, who they both attend a Connecticut prep school, you know, the whole private school, dark academia, mystery vibes abound. With the descendant of Sherlock and Watson. I don't know why my brain froze there, but their descendants, basically, they get together the way you might expect to start solving mysteries and crimes around the school. Next, I have another that sort of follows a murder mystery plot in an academic way, and that is The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. This follows, I forget his name, Robert Langdon, who's a Harvard symbologist in Paris to study something, I assume. And the curator, why don't I know this? The curator of the Louvre has been murdered inside the museum, and a weird cipher was found near his body, and they call in Langdon to start noticing the clues in Da Vinci's works that point to a secret society and all that good stuff. Sorry, my special illustrated edition is not, it's an unwieldy size to try to hold up for this. But this, of course, follows a professor following secret clues in a secret society to solve a murder. So, dark academia vibes all the way. Next, I have one I see included on Dark Academia lists a lot. It very much examines the darker side of human nature, which is why I'm still including it on this list, and that is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. It, of course, follows our titular character, Dorian Gray, who makes a deal to have his portrait painted, and basically it traps all of the sins that would affect his soul in the picture. So he engages in this life of debauchery and sin, and he just runs around doing whatever he wants, never aging, always staying beautiful, because any sin or crazy thing he does affects the picture. The picture gets uglier and uglier and older as time goes on, while Dorian stays the same. So it is an exploration in the darker side of human nature, I know that for sure. And the sort of art portrait aspect is also very dark academia-y. This next one is a crossover into the fantasy realm again, but still dark academia, and this is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is a retelling of Arthurian legend, which in itself seems like a very dark academia pursuit to me, so I feel like it fits there. But it also follows our main character, Bree, I believe, yeah, Bree, to a magical and exclusive boarding school where she ends up part of a secret society of, I believe they're called Merlins, and the society is called the Legendborn, and then there's people, mages, who call themselves Merlins, who help, I assume, these sort of Arthur type figures fight demons and all that. And it unlocks this whole secret world to her. I don't know if this has a sequel or not. I want to say it does, but I might be wrong. Next is one that has been going around a lot recently on the Dark Academia list, and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This follows our main character, Alex Stern, who is at Yale University, and basically she has a tragic past. I don't know anything about it. I just know she has a tragic past, and she gets sent to Yale to infiltrate a bunch of the secret societies for some purpose. I don't remember why. And I didn't really want to know too much about this one going into it so that I didn't spoil it for myself. But it's set at Yale University, infiltrating secret societies, doing dark secret society things, and of course a character with a tragic backstory is just perfect for the dark academia world. I know there's a sequel coming. I don't think anyone knows when the sequel's coming, so be mindful of it. There's a sequel, we just don't know when. Okay, my next one is one I've seen mentioned but not talked about a lot, and I'm really sad I haven't gotten to it yet because it sounds so good. And that is Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. Follows our main character Inez to the elusive and exclusive Catherine House boarding school, wherein the students are some of the most influential people in the world. They graduate to be Supreme Court justices and, doctors and scientists and presidents and activists and artists, and all the most influential people you could think of have graduated from Catherine House. And Inez is somebody who really hasn't had a home, so she feels at home here for the first time, despite the fact that students are required to leave basically all of their possessions and home contacts and communications and devices, all that kind of stuff. They're forced to leave at the door. They can't have connection with the outside world, basically. And the students are encouraged to explore their minds and their bodies and all kinds of pursuits and the darker side of life. And Inez starts to suspect that the beautiful boarding school might also be a lavish prison, and that the students are being encouraged to explore a darker sort of career path. It says, in all its shabby splendor, hallowed history, advanced theories, and controlled decadence might be hiding a dangerous agenda within the secretive, tightly knit group of students studying its most promising and mysterious curriculum. Next, I have another by V.E. Schwab, which did I ever say it when I said vicious and vengeful? I think I must have. I don't remember. It is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This follows our main character, Addie, who makes a deal with a demon or creature of some sort that she can live forever, but no one will ever remember her until one day someone does. And I think it's got the Dark Academia vibes because she works in a bookstore, or he does, and they study literature and all that stuff, and she interacts with people. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't want to spoil the story for myself. This one has a mixed bag. Some people either really love it and some people kind of hate it. Next, I have one set, again, at a school, at a college, following dark deeds and a dark professor, all that kind of good stuff. We have The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I don't know how to say his name. He's the author of The Silent Patient, which I've heard of but haven't read. This follows our main character, Mariana, who is investigating Edward Fosca, a charismatic Greek tragedy professor at Cambridge, and he's encouraged this group of young girls to sort of follow him around and worship him and think he works on water, and Mariana's very concerned because she's pretty convinced that he's murdering people. I believe she's pretty convinced her niece has been murdered by him and that it's getting covered up. All right, ladies and gents, we are nearing the last three, so I'm wrapping it up, I promise. It wouldn't be a dark academia book TBR recommendation video if Donna Tartt didn't make a second appearance, and that is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This one is massive. I don't know. It'll take me a while to get through this one, especially if I don't listen to the audiobook while I do it. It follows our main character, Theo Decker. He's abandoned by his father and he's taken in by the family of a wealthy friend, but he quickly sort of clings to the idea that he clings to the one thing that reminds him of his mother, which is a small, mysteriously captivating painting that ultimately draws Theo into the criminal art underworld. Lots of mystery and drama and crime and all that kind of stuff take off. But because, like I said, art and dark deeds and the darker side of human nature in regards to art is a very much dark academia pursuit and sort of facet, The Goldfinch is definitely one I would personally classify as a dark academia novel, just following the art world more than the sort of literary world, if that makes sense. Next to last, we have Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Ayemide. I keep saying I don't know how to pronounce this author's name. I need to figure it out. This follows two students at an exclusive private academy, Devin and Shamika, and they are selected to be part of the elite school's senior prefects, I should say, and they accept, but right when they do, an anonymous sort of troll, trickster, force, an anonymous person who goes by Aces, I believe, decides to start sending them a text message that reveal their sort of darker secrets and things that they'd rather keep hidden rather than jeopardize their future, because being selected as prefects means that they are automatically in the running towards becoming school's valedictorian and therefore setting up their college futures even more soundly than they already have, because clearly if they're being selected as prefects and stuff, they're pretty high up there in terms of ambition and academic achievements, but Aces has some secrets and it starts to threaten to unravel them and their plans. I assume they're going to have to team up and try to figure out who Aces is and how to manage these secrets and go forth from there. It promises to be a really fun read. Last but not least on this dark academia journey, we have If We Were Villains by ML Rio. This follows a group of shockingly college students, and our main character, Oliver Marks, the man who put him there, is waiting at the door the day he's released from jail. Detective Colborne wants to know the truth, and after 10 years, Oliver is ready to tell it. So it follows Oliver and a group of other kids at a Shakespearean conservatory. It's basically this world of dark academia, leather-bound books, firelight, theater, drama, but I think, again, it's this story of people exploring the darker side of human nature, just letting their debauchery take over, and it lands Oliver in jail, from what I understand. I believe in their fourth and final year, the balance of power begins to shift, good-natured rivalries turn ugly, and on opening night, real violence invades the students' world of make-believe. In the morning, the four The fourth years find themselves facing their very own tragedy and their greatest acting challenge yet, convincing the police, one another, and themselves that they are innocent. It sounds like it's going to be twisty and dark, and you're not going to know who's telling the truth and who isn't, because of course they are actors. But that is the last one for my current list of dark academia reads. Like I said, I have one to talk about in my Owl Crate box, so if you want to keep up with me and all of my bookish adventures, you can go ahead and click the subscribe button, and I highly recommend that you ring the little bell so that you don't miss a beat, because it will notify you when I post new videos, which I do every Friday. Next week is going to be that Dark Academia themed Owl Crate unboxing, so ring that bell so you get notified the second that video goes up and you don't miss it. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!